Our greatest responsibility is to ourselves. And it can take some time for us to get to know ourselves and why the things in our life have happened the way that they have, and what it means about us, and why we are the way that we are. So, when I dive into this topic of responsibility, I want to invite you to approach this from a heart-centered space and a space that really takes the essence of responsibility out of the the concepts, the mind, the structures of things as, being rigid, a sense of duty, a sense of, um, you know, must do it this way, confinement, restriction. And I want you to drop into your heart and connect with the level of responsibility that I'm going to be speaking about that is on a different vibration and a different frequency than how we typically interact with responsibility. And so I'm going to really anchor this in for you with a story. And this is my personal experience. And I want to emphasize the level of honor that comes with the level of responsibility that I'm going to be talking about. So, to begin, let's go back to the beginning. For those of you that don't know, I was adopted from the country of Georgia. I was born in the winter and spent the first 3 months in the hospital's orphanage. And at the time, the country was newly established and split from the Soviet Union. So the conditions of the hospital and the way that the entire country was run at that time was still in its infancy stages of rebuilding. So the hospital itself did not have heat. It did not have electricity. The electricity would rotate throughout the day to different parts of the city. So there were times where there was just not electricity in the building. So for the first 3 months of my life, those were the kinds of conditions that I was in. And at the time, um, because of the conditions, there were a lot of children that did not survive. So, um, throughout my years growing up, I grew up knowing that I was adopted, and throughout the years, I had learned bits and pieces of my adoption story. It was never something that was like kept hidden from me, but as a 6-year-old and as an 8-year-old and 10 and 14, like you're interpreting and digesting it in a different way than you are when you're an adult. So, hearing the stories in that over and over again, it landed in different ways at different times. Um, so one of the things that I have struggled with for quite some time has been this notion of what people have referred to as survivor's guilt. And this is something that has been difficult for me to navigate because when I look back and reflect on those times and those conditions and everything, my sister and I were adopted, and there were children that weren't, and there were children that literally didn't even survive. And so, what was it that made me be the one that was chosen and survived that experience and was adopted and came to the United States? So, I've grappled with a lot of feelings of guilt around that for quite some time. And I took it to extremes. In early parts of my life, and I didn't really understand what I was doing until much later, looking back in hindsight. But I had this deep sense of indebtedness to for my life. Like in the sense that I felt like, you know, my existence, my literal existence was contingent upon me being adopted. And I felt for a very long time that I was in debt. I owed something of myself to someone because otherwise I would potentially not be here. I may not even exist, in human form. So I navigated a lot of those feelings for a long time, and it led me to live my life in a way that, a lot of this was subconscious, but to live my life in a way of constantly seeking, approval, constantly changing who I was, constantly overgiving, constantly, adapting and evolving myself to fit in and belong in order to, feel some sense of value or worth of my own existence. Like I had no sense of established worth or value within myself. And I felt like I was constantly needing to do something in order to earn my worth, in order to earn my value. So it's come more into my awareness a lot recently, this experience and like a lot of the beliefs that I've held around this. And one of the things that has shed light or that I've been able to see in a different way is the sense of responsibility. For so long, I felt responsible to everyone else for my own existence. So this showed up in relationships. I felt like I had to be a certain way in order to be validated, like literally be valid and have value and have worth. I had to perform a certain way. It led to me doing really well academically and constantly, pushing myself as hard as I could academically so that I could excel in that area of my life. It led to this constant push, this constant evolution, this constant growth that was really stemmed from this sense of like inadequacy and, no sense of stable foundation of self-worth or self-value. So, what has come to my mind as of late is um, looking at this entire experience in a different way. And what's really helped me look at this in a new light has been the awareness that I have of more than just this human experience. So, what do I mean by that? Um, I've spent a lot of time over the past years getting to know myself beyond just the experience that I've had in these years on Earth. So getting to know my soul, getting to know the truth of my soul origin, getting to know the truth of who I am beyond the thoughts that I think, the feelings that I feel, the stories that I have, the memories that I hold, like who am I beyond that? And I've really anchored in and grown my awareness and deepened in that exploration. And it's really helped me to come back to a lot of these experiences that I've had in my life and look at the beliefs that I hold and the emotions that I still hold on to in my body and look at them and be like, is this is this serving me? And is this serving me? Does this serve me anymore? Is there a different way to see this? And so right now I'm navigating this shift in perception, this shift in awareness on that specific experience and the amount of guilt and the amount of unworthiness and feeling not valued that I had in my life and have lived for so much of my life. And so what that has helped me uncover is where the responsibility lies. So, as I've gotten to deepen my relationship with myself, I've come to understand that the responsibility that I have is not to anyone. The responsibility that I have is for myself. So I owe it to myself, if you will. I don't owe myself anything, but like I want to move through this experience and this way of perceiving and living life that allows me to shift my beliefs around my own value, my own worth, and my own grief and guilt and shame and loss and like all of that, all of those emotions and those experiences tied to my adoption and tied to, my early childhood experiences. So this shift in the true source of responsibility has really landed for me lately. And what I'm recognizing is that the responsibility that I have is to myself. And the responsibility for me to carry forward is to myself, which means I now live my life for myself. And I'm responsible for establishing my own worth and my own value. And yes, I was adopted, but that doesn't mean that that experience was not co-chosen. So another thing that has helped me look at this differently is soul contracts. To go back and look at that experience and say, and know, not just believe, but know that it was destined for me. I was brought into this world, into a third world country. I was adopted. I came to the United States and I grew up and lived the life that I lived. That was destined. That was extremely vital and significant, not because of some grand thing or some ulterior motive or external meaning beyond that. It just was, and it just is. That was just part of the destiny I was meant to live. That's that's all it is. The children that were born in that hospital and did not survive, that was part of their destiny. That was written for them. That was contracted as part of their soul experience. That was their own experience. And so seeing it from this perspective has helped me release a lot of the guilt around, why was I chosen? Why did I survive and not others? And all of those beliefs and things like that. Those souls that were only in this lifetime for a very short period of time are just as worthy and just as valuable and had just as significant of an experience on this earth than I did in and will in the amount of time that I spend here on earth. There is no um, hierarchy. There is no greater than or less than experience when it comes to the experience of the soul. And so when you look at these experiences through the lens of the soul, you understand that the experiences that you have and the life that you live is destined and divine in its own right. It is divine in its own right. And this is something I was not able to understand a few years ago. Like, I remember moving through a lot of these emotions a few years ago and being like, how can I ever absolve myself of these feelings of guilt? Like, it was like encoded. It felt like it was coursing through my blood, this sense of like just guilt for it being me. And I turned that experience into this, I have to perform. I have to make my worth, make my life mean something. I have to like prove myself. I have to make myself into something. I have to do something with my life because inherently within myself, I didn't feel worthy or valuable. I didn't feel like that was already given. And now that I'm coming back to this again, I'm experiencing and knowing my life is just as valuable and just as worthy the moment I was born as every other child in that. in that orphanage is just as valuable and just as worthy. And the paths and the branches and the lives that we all went through from that moment forward are completely different, but are completely divine and completely whole and worthy and valuable to the soul. So when we get stuck comparing ourselves to each other in this very finite human experience and these very finite life events and these moments throughout our life, it can feel like it can feel confining. It can feel restrictive. But there's so much that we don't know around other people and their soul contracts and what they're here to do and how they're here to serve and what their life is meant to look like. And everyone has their own path and their own destiny. And if you continue to chase life and experiences in order to prove your sense of value and worth, you will never learn the true nature of your soul, because the true nature of your soul establishes first you are worthy and you are whole and you are valuable. And no matter what your life looks like, no matter what your life looks like, every experience is valid and every experience is divine. And it is specific for you to remember exactly what I'm saying, that you are worthy, you are valuable, you are divine, you are whole. There is nothing wrong with you. You are 100% enough just as you are. With every experience that you live, you will learn this over and over and over again. This is the this is one of the things that we get to live on earth, is you get to live in the expression of knowing our own value and our own worth, and that we are enough with every moment, with every life event that happens. We all have such a unique, specific journey and such a unique, specific destiny. And when you start to live life from this way, from knowing this within yourself and not letting the stories and the beliefs of the past hold you back from actually remembering this truth, only then can you start to live in a way that is so soul-led and so from your heart, and will be a natural unfolding of just like overflow of love and compassion for your life and for these experiences. And so that is like the pivot that I'm experiencing now is going back to those experiences and recognizing that there are foundational beliefs within the life that I have lived up until this point that have led me to feel like I have to prove my value and my worth, that have led me to feel like I have to earn, and that it's not inherent within me. And that is so, so far from the truth that it took so long to get back to the truth. But I'm sharing this with you now so that whatever it is that's keeping you, whatever experience, whatever emotion, whatever thought, whatever belief is keeping you from the truth, you must go into that and you must feel that and you must allow that and you must let it go so that you can affirm and live the truth of who you are. This is why I say it's our responsibility. Our responsibility to ourselves, to honor ourselves and this process. It is our responsibility to move back to the truth of who we are. It is our responsibility to be our true selves. The amount of energy and resistance and uh, just upsetness, like the amount of energy that it takes to perpetuate beliefs that are literally so against the true nature of your soul is incredible. Like, think about how much energy it takes for you to believe that you are not worthy, and all of the things that have happened in your life as a result of that belief. And what if you believed you're worthy? It's like infinite expansion with ease, with grace. Like it, just that belief alone is just that belief alone can completely change your life. And so when it comes to changing your beliefs and moving into, oh, oh, I guess I believed I'm not worthy, now I am, right? There's an actual lived experience because somewhere in your body you have a lived memory or an emotion or a feeling that allows you to continue to believe that you are not. So you need to move through that experience in order to anchor in the truth of who you are. And every moment that you can, when you do remember who you are, it's allowing for what isn't that anymore to be released and to be let go so that you can anchor in to who you are now. And our memories, our experiences, our life that we lived is the best place to start because those are often the experiences that we've had that really keep us anchored to a sense of identity that is not true. We look at our past and say, "Oh, well, this happened to me, so how can I ever believe that it could be different?" I only know pain and suffering. How could I believe that life could be lived with joy and ease, right? We're holding on to those beliefs as emotions, and the emotions are meant to be released, let go of. I've emphasized this so many times in my videos, and this is why it's so important, is because it is our greatest responsibility and our greatest honor to be who we are. It is my greatest honor to look back at all of the experiences that I've had in my life and see them as nothing other than absolute divinity. For no other reason than it is just divine. And when you look at it through this lens, you learn, you grow, you understand. What was I believing then? Why does this happen? How can I take that experience and utilize that experience to move me into a different awareness? How can I use that to serve? How can I use that to live a different way? Because I could live my whole life feeling like because I was abandoned, because I was adopted, because no one loved me, because I wasn't inherently worthy or inherently valuable. I could live my whole life like that. And I could continue to seek and earn and outperform and do all of these things in order to earn my worth and my value and be extremely unhappy my whole life, the whole way through, and get to some point where I felt like I made it and then feel the exact same way that I felt my whole life because I hadn't actually addressed the beliefs and the feelings that like I'd carried with me my whole life. It's like that saying, wherever you go, there you are. This is why nothing outside of you will ever bring you what it is that you need. It is your responsibility to look at what you need, to go within, to uncover what those beliefs are, to let them go, to change the script, to rewrite it, to change your perceptions, to uncover the truth of who you are. This is the part of destiny that you become a conscious creator in. Up until this point, you've probably been living on beliefs and narratives that have been adopted by family members in society and probably aren't even yours and most likely don't resonate with you anymore. It is your responsibility to choose differently. This is your gift to yourself, and this is the greatest gift that you will ever give to yourself because this is the gift of love. You deserve to live the life that you absolutely love, and you deserve to be that place of love for yourself. It's your responsibility, and you have everything you need to do it. You've got this.